The history of the Philippines dates back to around 67,000 years ago, when the first inhabitants, likely Negritos and Austronesian, speaking peoples settled on the islands around 2000 BC, influencing the indigenous cultures and languages. Over centuries, various ethnic groups and kingdoms emerged, such as the Maragtas, Tondo, and the Sultanate of Sulu. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan arrived, marking the start of Spanish colonization that lasted for over 3 centuries. Spanish rule brought about significant cultural, religious, and socio-political changes, including the introduction of Christianity. After Ferdinand Magellan's arrival in the Philippines in 1521, several significant events unfolded. Magellan and his crew made contact with the indigenous inhabitants of the islands, particularly in what is now known as Cebu. Magellan aimed to establish trade relations and spread Christianity. He formed alliances with local leaders and engaged in baptisms, including the conversion of Raja Humabon of Cebu. A conflict arose between Magellan's forces and the native chieftain, Lapu in Mactan. Magellan was killed in the Battle of Mactan on April 27, 1521, making him the first European to die in Philippine territory. Despite Magellan's death, the Spanish continued their efforts to colonize the Philippines. Spanish expeditions explored and claimed various islands for Spain, laying the foundations for further colonization. On February 2, 1543, Ruy Lopez de Villalobos arrived in the Samar and Leyte Islands. In the Philippines, he named the islands Las Islas Filipinas in honor of the young heir to the Spanish throne, later King Philip II. Villalobos faced numerous challenges during his expedition, including harsh weather, hostile encounters with indigenous populations, and navigational difficulties. Ultimately, the expedition did not achieve its primary objective of establishing a direct trade route to the Spice Islands. In 1565, Miguel López de Legazpi arrived in the Philippines, establishing the first permanent Spanish settlement in Cebu. Subsequently, he established other settlements, including Manila, consolidating Spanish control over the archipelago. Following the establishment of the settlement in Cebu, Legazpi continued to expand Spanish influence and establish more settlements across the Philippine archipelago. In 1571, he founded Manila, which would later become the capital of the Spanish East Indies. The Spanish worked to consolidate their control over the islands, engaging in treaties with local rulers or asserting control through military means. The Spanish established the encomienda system, granting control of land and indigenous labor to Spanish settlers. The Philippines became a part of the global trade network, with Manila as a key hub in the Spanish trade route between Mexico and the Philippines. The Manila-Acapulco galleon trade facilitated the exchange of goods, including spices, silk, porcelain, and silver, significantly impacting the economic landscape of the Philippines. Spanish colonization was met with resistance from various indigenous groups, leading to multiple uprisings and revolts against Spanish rule. Notable rebellions include the Tamblot Uprising, 1621, and the Dagohoy Rebellion, 1744-1829. The Moro conflict persisted in the southern regions, as Muslim communities resisted Spanish encroachments. Over the centuries, Filipino resistance against Spanish rule, including the Katipunan, intensified, culminating in the Philippine Revolution in 1896. The Spanish colonial administration brought about significant changes, including the imposition of Christianity, primarily Roman Catholicism, on the indigenous population. Spanish influence led to the spread of Christianity, construction of churches, and integration of Spanish culture and language. Spanish rule over the Philippines lasted for approximately 333 years. After the Spanish era in the Philippines, which ended in 1898 with the Treaty of Paris, where Spain ceded the Philippines to the United States, several significant events and transitions took place. The Philippines faced the Philippine-American War as Filipinos sought to assert their independence against American rule. The conflict resulted in significant loss of life and destruction. The Philippines became a U.S. colony between 1898-1946, known as the Insular Government, initially under military rule and later a civilian government. American influence brought educational, political, and economic reforms, but resistance movements persisted. The Philippines transitioned to a period of self-governance under the Tidings McDuffie Act, establishing the Philippine Commonwealth on 1935. 1946, with Manuel L. Quezon as the first president. This period laid the groundwork for full independence. During World War, i.e., the Philippines fell under Japanese occupation from 1942-1945. The Japanese occupation was marked by harsh rule, atrocities, and resistance movements, notably the Hukbalahap guerrillas. The Philippines finally gained full independence from the United States on July 4, 1946, establishing the Third Republic. Manuel Roxas became the first president of the independent Philippines. The Philippines faced challenges of nation building, economic development, political stability, and addressing social disparities. Various administrations grappled with issues such as corruption, poverty, political unrest, and armed conflicts. The Philippines' history is a testament to the resilience and tenacity of its people, who endured centuries of colonization and emerged with a unique identity. The archipelago experienced waves of foreign rule, leaving an indelible mark on its culture, society, and institutions. Filipinos faced trials that strengthened their desire for self-determination. Today, the Philippines stands as a proud nation, drawing strength from its rich and diverse history while embracing a future built on the principles of liberty, democracy, and unity